Instead of the idea that you created in your mind of what you look like, actually look at what you look like. And then you realize, wow, I'm actually a bad bitch.
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan Debaun, a passionate entrepreneur and life advisor. With the Journey podcast, you'll discover that success isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. I'm sharing stories of amazing people who've taken control of their lives. Join me on my own journey to discover the secret sauce behind reaching success with permission from no one else. Hey everybody, it's Morgan Debaun. We are back with another episode of the Journey podcast. I'm so excited today because we have Ayesha Perry Iqbal here to talk all things beauty, empowerment, and her own journey through being a badass woman in this country and an immigrant, which is so important right now. We're talking about so many different things that have been happening in the world. It's entering into an election season. So I want to get into just a couple of things on kind of your perspective on the world, your own journey with wealth and being an entrepreneur and standing up for women. I was just on your TikTok and I was like, yes, I need some of these outfits. So welcome to the Journey podcast. Maybe just for those of us who aren't familiar with your story, how did you come to move to the US? Tell me a little bit about who you are.
Hi, first of all. I am originally from Wales in the UK. I moved here when I was 21, so quite a while ago. I wanted to go to drama school really bad. And I auditioned at all of the drama schools pretty much in the UK. And at the time, they would let in all white people and then maybe one token black person. So to be Pakistani was like unknown. And like even with TV and film, they were just stereotyping all of the roles. When I auditioned, I actually had one of the heads of the musical theatre department at this one school I really wanted to go to. She came out and was like, we really love you, but we just don't have a role for you in the musical at the end of the year. So I was like, what? So I'm really just not getting in because of my skin color, not because of my talent. And then I found a school in America that was actually in New York and LA. And they were auditioning the same day that I had that happen to me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the audition. And then I ended up getting a really big scholarship. And I just said to my parents, never been to LA, but I'm going. Goodbye. And I came and never looked back. So yeah. There's a lot more to the story, but, you know, just that's how I came here and started.
You followed your dreams. You know, I lived in LA for like 6 years, and I grew up in like the tech world. I started my career in the tech world. And so Hollywood, LA, people like becoming actors and actresses was just like a foreign concept to me. And I just admire anyone literally just made the leap and like, I want to be on TV and tried to like build that hustle.
Yeah, I think anything within fashion and entertainment isn't easy. Especially now, like, even though it's more accessible through social media, I still think it's hard, especially now that the market is so saturated. So, yeah, it's not easy at all. But you have to really love it.
How did you get into fashion? Like, what was your journey into fashion and then becoming, you know, kind of this icon?
I've always loved fashion. I've always loved clothes, dressing up, all these things. I think I got that from my mum. But I didn't want to work in fashion at all. I wanted to go into acting. I wanted to actually go to Broadway. That was really what I wanted to do. And then when I graduated college, I was here and I met up with the management. And the manager said to me, wow, like you're so beautiful, but you're like too pretty to be the best friend and you're too fat to be the lead. So you need to pick what it is that you want to do. And I was like, ugh. At the age of like 22, I didn't know what to do. So that was during the time that like the curve plus size movement was just starting in LA. I think it had already been started in New York with Ashley Graham, but she was like the only one at the time. And I went to dinner with some of my girlfriends and they were all modeling. They were all doing curve modeling. They were like, you should do it. I was like, I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. But then they kind of forced me to do my digitals. I got signed to a pretty good agency within that week. And I'm the type of person that just goes for something if I think it's going to work. So I went for it. And then it kind of opened up so many doors outside of just modeling because that was when social media was starting to boom. And I built a following because I was being so honest about my experiences throughout my entire life. I didn't realize that so many women also felt exactly the same as me because I think growing up, nobody really talked about it. I didn't see anyone that looked like me, size-wise and ethnicity in fashion. And now I was part of the movement to start that in LA. So yeah, it felt like really important to me, and it was more of a purpose outside of just like, oh, I dress up and look pretty.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I ended up getting into modeling.
I'm 4'11", but I'm really thick, so I got a lot going on. So when I was in high school and was like starting like wear real clothes, I also went to an all girls school, so we had a uniform. So like I didn't have to get dressed every day, but on the weekends I was like, what are we wearing? And I used to have to find the fashion petite curvy blogs, which like literally didn't exist. And I had to learn how to dress myself. You wear like certain things, and I had to get everything tailored. And it was just a really challenging experience, to the point when I first started my company, I decided to just wear like t-shirts and jeans every day with like the giant Blavity logo, because I just couldn't. It was too much thought. Like I felt like it was so much effort to try to get things to fit my body. And it hasn't been until I would say like the last 2 to 3 years, no, maybe like the last 3 to 4 years, I actually just hired a stylist to help me, because I was like, I know that this is important. I'm not good at it. And I also know that there's certain things that will make me look like a paper bag and certain things that are going to make me look va-va-voom and make me feel great. And working with her has been really helpful, because, she's like, you can put on a belt. I'm like, I would have never thought to put a belt on this. Or like, you should actually scrunch it up and show some skin. I'm like, I would have never thought to show some skin on something like this. And I'm just curious, what are your kind of like fashion principles? What's your philosophy for a woman who might be transitioning into, a fuller body, whether that's because she's postpartum or she's just like, fuck it, I'm healing my food relationship and I'm just embracing it.
I think honestly, it's remembering that you can be stylish at any size. That's the tagline for my entire career. And that if you want to wear the dress, wear the dress. If you want to wear the bikini, wear the bikini. It doesn't matter if you're bigger or smaller. Like I've had so many fluctuations in my weight over the years, and I think it's working on that inner confidence and like loving yourself and accepting your body. The things that really helped me when I was having moments of feeling less confident, it's like actually looking at my body in the mirror, like naked. I know people don't really do that, but it really does help. Like paying attention to you instead of the idea that you created in your mind of what you look like. Actually look at what you look like, and then you realize, wow, I'm actually a bad bitch. So I feel like it really comes from that place.
Right.
Like, and I think also people don't teach us that we do have all these fluctuations in our weight.
Right.
And that even with postpartum, for example, like people don't talk about how that really affects you outside of your emotions. Like losing your hair, your stomach might not go in, and that might already be an insecurity for you. And then you're worried about your stomach after pregnancy. Like your color under your arms, around your boobs, it changes. Like there's so many things. You might have dry skin.
I'm 6 months pregnant, so I am very melanated right now in weird places.
Yeah, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's so beautiful. You're growing a human inside you. You know what I mean? And it's such a shame for us to feel so awful about ourselves, or so much pressure to be perfect all the time, or whatever is deemed to be perfect.
Yes, I agree.
When you could just enjoy that moment and wear what you want to wear that makes you feel good during your pregnancy of growing a human. Like, it's crazy to me. But yeah, I think when it comes to fashion and understanding like where you should go as far as fluctuations in weight and different times in your life, is just go with what you feel comfortable in, and also know that you can still be stylish even if you're bigger. It's fine.
Yeah, when I started to gain weight, I've gained 25 pounds already, and I've still got some months to go. So, I'm going to definitely get large and in charge here. But I kind of was like an anti-maternity clothes person. Maybe I set myself up for failure there, but I was trying to still wear my clothes. And when I started to put on my pants, and I couldn't fit them, and this was maybe month 3, partially bloating, partially, baby weight. And I just burst into tears. I was just like, what do I do? I have to go shopping. Like, I don't want to do this. And then we went on a trip. Like I had a work trip where I was doing like a speaking engagement, and I have like really cute suits and everything. Like I said, I just spent all this time getting a cute wardrobe, and half the things I packed, I couldn't fit by the time I got there. So I had to go shopping again. And it really has been an emotional journey of being like, this is actually okay. And if you never get back to your other size, like it's literally not the end of the world. Like it is fine. It has been something I have to continually like retrain my body, my mindset of like, do not freak out. Like this is normal. This is fine. Like millions and millions of women do this every year. You are not an
I know,
outlier.
but then when you think about all the millions and millions of women, then you try and minimize what it is that you're feeling. And it's okay to have those massive feelings about it. It's okay
Yeah.
if you want to have a breakdown over it. Like, it's okay that millions of women also go through it. It's fine. Like, feel that way.
Yeah.
But also it's like knowing that, you know, when you do have your baby, if you want to then feel more confident and being at a lower weight makes you feel more confident,
That's fine too.
exercise and eat healthy and get to the healthiest, happiest you. Because that's most
Absolutely.
important. You need to be the healthy, happy you to be able to look after a child anyway. So
Absolutely.
if keeping
Yeah.
on the extra weight makes you feel so unhappy that it's then affecting how you can be with other relationships in your life and how you raise your child, then what's wrong with putting yourself first and going to work out and eating
Yeah.
healthy to get yourself to a place where you mentally feel okay and good?
100%.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately, if you're not good, you can't be good for everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, there's a couple of curvy women that I follow, and one of them has been on a health journey where she's lost a lot of weight to the point where she's gotten a lot of backlash. Not like backlash, but a lot of comments on her losing weight. And, you know, even people going as far as to say, like, are you on Ozempic? And like all these different things. And I'm curious your thoughts on like how influencers and women who have maybe started their communities on being someone that other people relate to, then wind up on their own health journey. How do you suggest that people manage that if they're going through that kind of transition?
I mean, first of all, if she's on Ozempic, that's her own business, it's nobody else's.
Yeah.
Second of all, if she wants to go on a health journey, that again is her own business and nobody else's. I think that, I mean, I've had it myself because I've fluctuated in weight over
Hmm.
time, and people think that because you do want to lose some weight, then that means that you don't love yourself because you were saying that the bigger weight you loved yourself. But
Mm.
you can also love yourself bigger or smaller. Loving yourself doesn't add into how much you weigh. That's something that society has put onto us.
Hmm.
So for me personally, I got to a weight where I felt like a bit like out of breath when I was going up the stairs, and like
Hmm.
when I was doing squat jumps I couldn't jump as high and I just felt restricted. So I
Mm.
went ahead and lost some weight so I
Hmm.
could feel more bouncy and light in
Hmm.
myself. That made me feel more confident and happy. I was healthy at both weights, but I just didn't feel happy
Right.
inside. And I shouldn't have to explain that to anyone. And even this girl, like, you don't really know what people's medical history is. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't
Hmm.
even know why they lost weight. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And people are just so quick to do this online and
Entitlement for explanations.
right, and like, but they're all projecting their own insecurities onto you. I've noticed that people are super secure. They don't go doing this on other people's pages. They just go, oh, she's lost weight. And you just don't even mention it to the person because,
Do they look great? Move on.
yeah, whatever. But like, I think that that is a massive problem. But again, that stems from men
Yeah.
putting pressure onto women. And then women then do it to each other because they don't realize where it's stemming from. So it's a
Yeah.
problem.
I agree. Whenever I see it, I'm just like, can we just leave these people alone? Like all the, is this person on Ozempic or not on Ozempic commentary? I'm like, does it matter? Like, it literally, you don't even know this. Like, you've never even seen this person in person. Like, you don't even
Yeah.
know. You've never even met these people. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of energy that's spent
And
online.
social media is deceiving. Like, as a model working in the fashion industry previously, the way we maneuver our bodies to make us look slimmer in
Hmm.
certain angles or look bigger in certain angles, depending on what we're selling. Also, the way they pin the back of the clothes, girls wear padding. Like, nothing is real online. Even when it comes to relationships, a lot of these relationships that I know personally, they hate their partners, but online they have the perfect marriage.
Yes.
So, like, online is not real. Like, it's
No.
not a real place. It's curated to show your best moments
Yeah.
and whatever it is that you want to show. So,
Yeah. It's a magazine. That's how I'm like, this is the same editing that goes into a magazine. This is our generation's versions of people's personal magazines. It's
Yeah,
like,
and it's really sad that people edit their personal lives that way. It's
I completely
yeah.
agree. Do you have any thoughts on AI and like how that's going to impact your industry? Because one of the things, like for example, that I've been noticed in particularly in the Black community, people have been running a lot of tests with some of these AI generators that can generate images and like make it look photorealistic. And they'll type in something like African American princess or Ethiopian goddess, or like turn this picture into every woman in the world. And then it just like reinforces these stereotypes because it's programmed by people. I'm curious if that's been a conversation in your friend group, or, you know, how, as someone who really genuinely makes money and is in a career of being a creator and making images that are representative and to us, what your thoughts are.
I think that personally, I don't think any of the AIs look realistic. I can see when it's AI. I mean, they're
Mm.
very real. They look very close, but
Hmm.
there's just something in the eyes and the personality that you can tell is a real person. Secondly, like, I think it's a massive problem. I think it's a massive problem. I don't think it's going to take over my personal business or other girls' personal businesses, but I do think they're going to start implementing AI to save money when it comes to e-commerce, maybe. I don't know if it would have the selling power in the same way someone who is genuinely wearing it and going somewhere and has a real story could, but I
Mm.
don't know the full extent of where AI can go.
Hmm.
It's really damaging for body image. It's damaging, especially for young girls who are growing up in this time where they're seeing AI. I
Hmm.
think it started even with filters, like
Hmm.
doing a lot of
Yeah.
editing with Facetune and filters.
Yeah.
But now the AI thing can be really detrimental to image, to the point that like somebody won't even see their real face. Because I've
Mm-mm.
even gotten to a point sometimes where I've looked at myself with like and I don't even do like the crazy filters, but sometimes you got a zit or something, so you just got a
Blur.
little, you just on your story you'll have like a filter on, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you come off the filter and you're like, ooh, I look terrible. But you actually look great.
You look
It's just
great.
they've
Yeah.
enhanced it so much that it's like
Yeah.
it takes you a second to come back. And I am in my 30s and I love myself and I've done a lot of self-work and I feel that
Hmm.
way. So I can't imagine if I was a teenager going through this and having that. I don't know if I'd be able to snap back.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the problem is. Like you were saying about body image, it's really detrimental. And it's, again, going back to men forcing us to have this perfect image.
Hmm.
But I also don't think, I might be wrong because I haven't done that much research on it, but I don't think the technology that I see
Is
looks
that good yet?
so realistic that I wouldn't be able to tell that it's AI. There's something
Yeah.
about it where it just doesn't, it's like if the
I
eyes are
do
not, it
think the
feels off.
eyes. Yeah, it's kind of like a glazy. It's a glazy look. It's almost too perfect. I will say National Geographic does an annual photo competition, and the photo that won last year was an AI photo. National Geographic couldn't tell and didn't know. It was a whole PR craziness for National Geographic because like that's their jam. You know, like they do this like big annual global photo competition. So I think the AI that's available to us is like normal people isn't there yet, but I think that there is supercomputing generative AI technology that is coming, and it's going to only get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
But I feel like it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. Like we're not going to have any reality. It's just going to be us looking into a computer and looking
I
to the
know.
computer for everything. And humans are going to get stupider and stupider. Like you're not going to read
Literally.
about things or find out information. You're just going to go to Chat GBT and be like, boop, boop,
Did you
boop,
see the
boop.
Apple glasses that are coming out?
I saw, yeah.
It's going to
I'm
be
not
that.
into all of that stuff though.
Yeah.
I personally, I like to be in reality, but some people, they hate their reality. So it makes sense why they want to go into these
Cyber
worlds
worlds.
of, it's giving Black Mirror.
It's definitely giving Black Mirror for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's going to be interesting. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because I think that the people like us have to consider these issues and talk about these issues. And the people listening to this podcast need to start thinking about this because you need to make a conscious choice as a consumer of images, of questioning the things that we're seeing online, particularly as we enter like the election season. There's going to be a million fake images that come out of like Donald Trump and so. And it's like, is that real? Is it not real? And it's happening.
I
And
think what's really important when it comes to politics is you have to do your research, your own research.
yeah.
And even if you're not able to get it online, which I'm sure you can if you do the research properly, go and read books. There's so many books on politics. If you don't understand, go and read and find it out for yourself, because it would be so easy just to even go on Twitter right now and follow wherever the fish are going. And then you have a whole story that never even happened about something. Never happened. And it happens every day. They cancel people for things that didn't actually happen because they created a story. And politics affects us, especially women who are not white, from brown all the way to black. It affects us more than anyone else. So it is so important for us to be educated and know who we're voting for and know the things that will implement once we make that decision. So that's why I think it's really important to do your research.
I completely agree. And I think a lot of us have blocked like politics. Like I know a lot of friends who are like, I don't even turn on the news. Like I haven't watched CNN in years. I don't care. I don't want to know because there's so much traumatic shit that happened during previous presidencies. And I'm worried that people are going to continue with the like, I just don't want to know and tuning it out. And we wind up in a weird situation in a few years. So,
you know, I kind of felt similar to this until Roe versus Wade was implemented. I had an abortion in 2021. I had a late term abortion. I went to Colorado and I had to go to a whole expensive clinic to get the procedure. And then a year after that, not even a year, like within that next year, within 6 months of it, they took Roe versus Wade away. Wow. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, I can't be so ignorant anymore, because I'm only specific over domestic violence. I support women who have been in violent situations. So I would only read news about that. And then I was like, wow, I could still get an abortion if I wanted to, because I'm not struggling financially and I have the access and the means to do so.
To move or fly.
This affects girls that look just like me, that may not have the finances to do that and maybe in a state too far away that they can't even get the access to travel. I'm talking specifically late-term abortions, but now it could be a 6-week abortion they need and they can't get somewhere. And that could change their entire life. That could change their safety. And I'm over here supporting women and I don't watch the news. And this affects me and girls like me who I'm fighting for. This is violence against women. So I think all of that changed the way I feel about politics, and you have to be involved because it affects you. And that's where it goes back to what I was saying. Brown and black women, it affects us the most.
10 times more.
We have to be aware, because if no one's going to fight for us other than us. We need people in office. We need people doing more things and speaking out that look like us, that will be able to make change. So yeah, I think for me, that's what changed me watching the news. I was like, yeah, I gotta be up on this.
Gotta tune in. And I think the challenge is like people who you just never think that these things apply to you. You know, you just never think that you're going to be in a situation. And I left LA and moved to Tennessee, you know, before Roe versus Wade was overturned. And when I moved to Tennessee, I moved to be near my family, to like kind of have a slower pace of life. And I didn't fully think through, am I going to live in this state that is going to like systemically and intentionally deprioritize my rights as a woman, as a Black woman, and
as a pregnant Black woman,
and then I got pregnant, and I was like, I need a Black OBGYN, I need a Black doula, I need an army, because I don't trust the system. And I also, what if I had some sort of condition, or literally the fear of, what if I have some sort of situation? We were doing our 20-week test for like the anatomy scan where they look and see, you know, does your baby have all types of stuff? And I remember asking my doctor, I said, what if the baby has stuff? What are my options? Like,
you would have to fly out of state.
She was like, you don't have any. I mean, she was really clear. She was like, there are no options, basically. And I like the idea
and that's the problem.
I was like,
it's not just about choosing that you don't want to have a baby. It's
Yeah.
about if you want to have your child, and if there's a
Yeah.
problem, you don't have safe, accessible healthcare in the state that
Right.
you live in. And it might be
Crazy.
dire, like you need it now to
Now.
save you and your child, and you don't have access to it. That is
Yeah.
so scary. I can't. Like, it's so scary.
Incredibly scary. And then we just passed the window of when, if the baby comes now, the baby will live and can go in the NICU and do all the things. But there is a few weeks in between that scan and now where you kind of have to, sometimes you have to choose. Do you choose baby? You choose mom. If something goes wrong, are you going to carry the baby to term? Well, you have to. You have to carry the baby to term in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Even if that puts my life at risk. Whereas guaranteed, right? So it's like the amount of additional stress on top of a stressful situation. Like a 16-year-old, 20-year-old getting pregnant is stressful, right?
Yeah.
Someone having some sort of challenging diagnosis for their baby that they just worked so hard to conceive is stressful. And I've had so much empathy in the last like few months as I've gone on my own journey of just like, oh my God, this is outrageous that these people are making these choices about how we can make our own decisions for ourselves and our family.
It's
terrible.
not fair.
It's not
Women
fair.
deserve safe, accessible healthcare.
Seems simple. Seems so
Barbie. It should be simple. It should be simple. In the same way that when you have cancer, you can make a decision about your healthcare. When it comes to conceiving,
Yep.
you should be able to make a decision about your healthcare, and whatever your decision is nobody's business.
Correct.
That's your private business.
You and your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Barbie?
I did twice.
Twice? I haven't seen it yet because they were all sold out.
I just happened to be lucky and get like last minute tickets, but yeah.
I'm dead. I love it. I love it. Advice for people who haven't seen Barbie yet: see it, don't see it.
Absolutely see it. It is so feminist, and it's making all the patriarchal men so mad because life isn't about them for once. It's really good. It's beautiful outfits. It's fun. It makes you feel like a kid. There's so many funny moments. Will Ferrell is hilarious. Yeah, I would definitely go see it. Also, I wasn't really sure about Ken. But then the second time I saw it, I was like, oh, it's actually really funny, and he's quite sweet as Ken. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it for sure. Yeah. I think they've done a really great job with marketing. And I think Barbie's going to have like a whole reboot now because they've changed the narrative on what Barbie stands for and the way society thought. Compared to what the way society thought Barbie stood for. So yeah, I think it's a good
when they first announced the movie, I was like, I'm not gonna go see that. Like, Barbie is not gonna be, this is not gonna be for the people by the people, you know?
Right.
And then as I started to see like the marketing and who they were casting, and I was particularly skeptical, my own bias was, you know, you're casting a tall, skinny blonde lady to be Barbie. So like, how much does that really define the odds here? You know,
but it
so
also goes back to Barbie being stereotypically that. Right, and in the movie, they mention about her being stereotypical Barbie, and they have lots of other Barbies that are all different. So I felt like that too, but then I was like, really happy that they did put her as Barbie.
Right, well, I'm going to go see it this weekend, but I had to let everybody see it first. I was like, I don't know. But then Issa was like, all right, if Issa's in it, like, I know she's, you know, about it. So she's not going to sign up for anything. I love Issa Rae.
She's so I just rewatched all of Insecure again.
On Netflix? Yeah.
And I was like all into it again. I'm so sad that they just ended that series. I need her to do something else now.
She probably wants to live her life, you know?
Yeah.
It's you get stuck when you do those shows for 5-6 seasons. I actually recently I was binge watching a bunch of stuff, and then I stopped because as I started to see like all of the comments from these actors who you think are doing well on the residuals, I was like, I'm watching Gilmore Girls and you're not getting paid? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Do you have friends that are in like Hollywood business as well?
Yeah, I do. They're all on strike right now. So
it's terrible.
Which I completely agree with them, and it does lean into people who aren't just actors. I think there's a lot of buyouts when streaming happened and a lot of internet things. It caused actors and models, even when they do commercials, to not be able to have the residual income that they deserve, or even the pay out that they deserve on things. A lot needs to change when it comes to TV and film.
We'll see.
But we're also in like a transition. Like, I know that it's been happening as far as like regular
Mm-hmm.
TV to streaming, whatever, it's been happening, but I feel like now we're so in the crux of it that it's like this with
Yeah.
streaming. So the industry does need to shift to make
Right.
it make sense for everyone, because these studios are making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Facts.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Billions.
Like Barbie.
Yes.
Barbie did 300 and something million in the first weekend.
Insane. And people were talking about, oh, they spent 150 million on marketing. I'm like, they're going to make that back in the first 48 hours, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. But also they're going to keep making that back after all the products that everyone's going to buy because of Barbie, all the Barbie dolls they're going to buy now. Like, it was great marketing. They had a marketing genius team. Whoever was their team killed it.
Yeah, that person actually deserves what they're probably getting paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, switching gears. I'm sure a lot of people who clicked on this know you for your advocacy and your activism to help people who have been in domestic violence situations. What are the tools and resources if someone's like, Morgan, please get to the point. How can she help me? Like, what are tools, resources that anyone who's listening to this, man, woman, whatever, who feels like they might be in a situation, but they don't know and they're trying to like figure it out?
The place that has the most information specifically on that is the domestic violence helpline. You can go on there and you can look up if you're in an abusive relationship or not. You can also look up the different types of abuse, educate yourself, because just because in your relationship there might not be physical violence, it doesn't mean you're not being abused. I think the majority of relationships deal with a lot of emotional and mental abuse, more so than physical. Those, I think, people only recognize abuse as your partner hit you. And those things are terrible. And after being through it myself, I would never wish that on anyone. But the vast majority don't ever get to that point. Or if you are already experiencing emotional and mental abuse, then it could escalate to physical violence.
Yeah. And what do you say to the women who are like, I'm even scared to type that website in because it means that I'm potentially going down this pathway?
Well, the option is you either stay being controlled and unhappy and potentially die in a scenario with someone that you think loves you, or you put yourself first and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and a whole beautiful, amazing life outside of whatever you're dealing with now. It's a choice that only you can make, and I hope that you make it.
Mm-hmm. Just have the information.
Yeah, but the good thing about going onto the domestic violence helpline is when you search it, if your partner then goes onto your search history, it doesn't show up. So you can put it onto silent mode. Yeah, so anything that you interact, even if you interact with them, it'll be quieted, so you won't be able to see it. So you're safe researching outside of that. If you really don't feel safe doing that, then maybe asking a trusted friend or family member to go ahead and research. There's also a book that I absolutely love that I have read like 3 or 4 times. It's called, I've got it right here, Why Does He Do That? By Lundy Bancroft. He is a psychologist that works with abusive men. He basically does, when you've been through the court system, you might get given anger management programs as an abuser, which I think is stupid, but you know, that's what some people are given. And in the book, he says about all of his research through the years of dealing with all of these men. And basically he comes out in the book and says that pretty much all of these men know exactly what they're doing. They're not mentally ill. And we give them that as a crutch, as an excuse for their behavior. But most men, abusive men, they're manipulative and they know exactly what they're doing. And the decisions that they make, even when it comes to mentally, emotionally abusing you, they are fully aware of their decisions.
That is terrible.
And no form of anger management will change their behavior. They need like actual psychological care, but you can't change your psychology or how you think unless you decide you're going to do it. But none of these men think they're wrong. They think because she did this, I did this. And it all goes back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Malcolm Gladwell has a book that's about that, how like we as people want to believe that other people are really good. Like we want to believe that people tell the truth, and we want to believe that people are trying to do the right thing. And he shows all these examples. No, like there's just literally people who steal. they just have a different wiring where they don't feel any sort of remorse about it, or like people who are narcissists. It's like, no, like there's a lot of narcissists and they just are.
Yeah.
And
I think that's also really important. When you're in a relationship with an abusive person, they're not going to change. If they've done it once and you've allowed it, they're going to continue to do it. The same with cheating. If your partner's cheated on you and you've allowed it and you found out about it and you've stayed, they're going to keep cheating on you. It's very unlikely that they're going to change, especially with abuse. They're never going to change. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. The person that you also think you're in love with is an ideal that they showed you. And most of the time when it comes to narcissists, they're showing you an image of you because they mirror you. So the thing that you've fallen in love with is you. You didn't fall in love with them. So you're the good person. You're the love that you need. So it's like redirecting your brain to be like, wow, I think I'm in love with you, but I'm actually in love with me because I don't actually know you. And the person that you're showing me who's the abuser is actually that person. And do I really want to be with someone who really disrespects me and hits me or whatever he's doing?
Yeah, controls me, controls my budget, controls my travel, isolates me from my friends. I mean, there's a million different levels of control.
Of abuse,
and I think that's the other thing is like a lot of times women and people find themselves in situations where they're highly, deeply controlled. And maybe they've been in situations growing up where they've been deeply controlled. And so being controlled is something that they view as normal. From a perspective, like their baseline is off, but they don't know it until something escalates. There's typically some sort of moment where someone says, is this normal? I don't know. Right? And that little question of, if you're asking yourself if this is normal,
it's obviously not normal.
It's probably not normal. You know? So like if you're listening to this podcast, if you clicked this episode and you were like, Morgan, get to the point, and you shook your head when I said I'm going to get to the point, you should maybe slow down for a second and consider what's causing you to feel this way. And my question for you, Ayesha, is like, okay, someone hasn't been physically abused. What other resources or things do you think that they should look at, or like, how can they start to develop a perspective?
See, now that's where it gets really tricky because the system doesn't help you if you need like actual assistance to leave this person. The system doesn't really help you even if you've been physically abused. So if it's only mental and emotional abuse, and I'm not that, for me, when I was healing from my situation, the physical went away. All the bruises and the cuts and everything, they went away. But it's taken me years to overcome some of those emotional abusive moments. Like, because it gets embedded in your brain and it starts to rewire how you see the world and how you think and how you do things. So even though it's not taken as seriously, it is really just as serious. I think for me, what was really helpful was I started to screenshot a lot of things, like things that gave me red flags, or especially when they tried to twist the narrative on you, I would try to screenshot it. And in the moment, obviously it was happening. And then I would go back to it after the fact when I was by myself and I had time to breathe and I had time to think about it and reread the scenario, because then it helped me see what was really happening. And then you go, oh, he was gaslighting me. Oh, look at how I'm treating him and the love and care and consideration I'm approaching him with. Yet he's still approaching me with like verbal violence. So where's the respect dynamic here? And all of this, everything I'm saying, it goes back to you, your love for yourself and how much you love yourself. And do you love yourself enough to be like, I'm going to walk away from anyone in my life, whether it's my intimate partner, my job, my friends and family. I will walk away from anyone in my life who doesn't respect my boundaries, who doesn't reciprocate the love and care that I want to or I give to myself. And I think the more that I've worked on myself and the more that I have given love and care to myself, the stronger my boundaries are and the healthier, happier life that I live. So yeah, the main thing I would say is screenshotting it, especially because you might need that for evidence, especially if there's kids involved and different things. Evidence is key. Save everything. If it's financial abuse, because that also goes back to mental abuse. Like anything that you can get, rack up the evidence, even if you have to print it out and give it to someone that you trust, or you have a lawyer that you have access to. Because when it's time for you to leave, when you decide that you're ready to leave and you have a safe plan for you to exit, you're going to need all of those things to be able to get yourself a safe exit and get the things that you need as far as justice and safety. Yeah.
I think that's true to your point on literally anything, like even employees. I mean, at my own company, we've had situations where we've had toxic manager and I'm like, do you document anything? And then they've got to go back. You're looking for stuff from conversation. You didn't write it down. You didn't take the notes. Then you got to start from the moment that you're in and move forward, as opposed to, having protected yourself. And there's nothing, like, if you don't use it, you don't use it. It's okay. Right. But there's no harm in having the little folder that screenshots stuff that you're like, this wasn't right. Or you write an email to yourself saying, we just had this conversation. This wasn't right. There is nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes people feel icky about documenting things and interactions.
Also, it might be quite overwhelming in the moment, and you just want to exit it to the back of your mind so you don't have to deal with how upsetting it might be in the moment or how uncomfortable you might feel, especially in like those power dynamics too. That's the same way it works in intimate partner relationships. The abuser creates a power dynamic. So it's even worse when you're in a job situation. You might really need the money, or you need to be in this position, and you want to elevate your career. You don't want to upset your boss. Like, there are so many things in place that can make this better. You don't have to put up with this. Like, it's not things that you deserve. And ultimately, I feel like every time that I've asserted a boundary and it's felt like, oh, okay, I just really went for that, it's like opened a door in the right direction with the right people. Even if it felt icky at the time and I felt like, oh my God, that's it for me, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Now I've messed up all my chances, or I've walked away from someone I really love and care for. I created a space in my life to have a healthy person or an amazing job opportunity that makes sense for me to walk into my life openly, because I have space now. When it's filled with bad things, the good things don't have any space.
I agree. I was in a situation where I went to therapy just to have the accountability partner to say, am I tripping? Am I not tripping? Like, just to have somebody else say, you're not tripping. And they would walk me through these scenarios of like, well, what would happen if you said that? What would happen if you would do that? How would this person react? What happened if you didn't give a shit about how they reacted? Right. And they just help you go through the what ifs that sometimes your brain won't allow you because you like don't want the answer, or it's too far away from your reality. This was a professional situation, a relationship situation, but I can tell you that from a professional point of view, once I made the decision to say something is off and it's not working for me, how can I get better? It was about me. Like, it was 100% about what I was allowing, what kind of control and power I was giving up, what kind of things that I actually wasn't okay with. It was all me, because I can't control that person. They are who they are, right? And I think that was my first experience. Like, oh my God, there's a narcissist. Like, oh my God, it's so freeing.
And I also think, like, you need to be okay with standing on your own. Like, that's something I've learned over this time. Like, obviously, I came to the States on my own. I've built my entire life here on my own.
That's right.
I have worked restaurant jobs under the table when I had no papers, and like I didn't have a car, so I used to have to walk miles and miles to get to things. Done jobs for free. Like, I've done so many things to get to this point now, aside from walking away from horrible situations, walking away from people who I loved and cared for, who were enabling the abuser around me. And like, it's gotten to a point where sometimes I stand there and I'm like, whoa, I really did this on my own. And then you're like, wow, I don't regret it, because if I was surrounded by people, look at the people I would be surrounded by. I wouldn't be standing here feeling at peace and feeling happy and feeling like all my decisions are my own if I hadn't have kept walking forward on the path I knew I was supposed to be on.
Yeah.
I know it's scary to walk on your own, but you can do it. And I think society makes women, particularly, especially ethnic women, they make us feel like we can't do things alone. they make us not know anything about finances. So then we feel like we need to have a man around us to help us with that. They make us feel like we're not accepted in big boardrooms or in big organizations because we're a woman and we may be black or brown. So you're not welcome here. Also, we're not educated enough, or we should be at home having a child and taking care of the house. You need to take care of your man. So it makes you feel like you always need someone to help you, but you don't. Like, the knowledge is out there. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Do your research. Look at things. If you want to know something, find out about it, because there are women who have done it before you, who will give you the education to help you, and you can do it. It all goes back again to self-love. How much do you love yourself? Are you okay with standing alone? Because when you stand alone and you know that you know that everyone else you're allowing into your life will also have you because you got you. You know?
Was the filter. That's right.
Yes.
100%. I agree.
Yes.
All right, Ayesha, how can the streets find you? How can they support you? Of course, you've got your TikTok, you've got your Instagram. Tell us about your nonprofit and how can find you and get involved.
So you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok at AyeshaPI. Ayesha PI. I was going to say .com, not .com. Ayesha PI. I am a part of an organization called Voices Beyond Assault. They were originally founded by my friend Brianna. They are dominated as a sexual assault charity. But then when her and I had a deep conversation, she was like, wow, like, people get sexually assaulted in their relationships. And I was like, girl, yes. And then a lot of the people that were coming to the events that she was putting on at the time, they were from abusive relationships and there was no resources to help. So I came on as the head of the domestic violence division. At the moment, we have a lot of great things in the pipeline. I'm not sure I can talk about them, so I won't. But we do a lot of survivor events where we create communities for you to have support and help. And we have therapy sessions online that you can join in with. If you can be anywhere, they're online, so it's easy to do. And we do have retreats that happen for survivors. I think there are a few in the pipeline, so they will be put up. And then also, if you want to go onto the website or onto the Instagram, there's a lot of information about sexual assault and domestic violence. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Very much enjoyed our conversation. It's only just one person who listens to this or watches this video feels a little bit stronger to take a step forward, then it's absolutely worth it.
You got this. You got this.
Please. We're rooting for you.
You deserve better. You deserve happiness, please.
We are rooting for you.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't see anyone else, I am a survivor of domestic violence, of 2 abusive relationships, and I am here happy and healthy, and I travel the world and my career is thriving. I have amazing friends. If you don't see anything else, just see that from me, if I can do it, you can do it.
Amen. All right, y'all. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you send a rating on iTunes, sign up for the newsletter, which I send out every week, and we have fun special episodes on YouTube. You guys have not been messing with my YouTube lately, and I spend all this time making these videos, and I'm kind of like, if you're not going to do this, we're going to go back to audio podcast. So if you care about me at all and this free resource that you're getting every week, go to the YouTube and subscribe, okay? Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Journey Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you leave a review and head to our Instagram and YouTube to leave a comment. I look forward to hearing how this podcast has made an impact on your own journey.